Have you ever felt something shift inside you, suddenly, without warning? As if the world around you was still the same, but you had been pulled into another level of consciousness? Have you ever looked at the sky, at the walls, at people, and everything seemed the same, but nothing made sense anymore? And deep down, even without knowing why, you were certain that something immense was happening inside your soul. If you're here, if this message found your eyes and touched your skin, it's not a coincidence. It's because a higher force is trying to break the veil. Something is whispering between the invisible layers of time, calling you by name. Do you feel it? A restlessness? A chill? A strange silence that screams, "No, you're not going crazy. You're awakening, and what's coming will prove it to you." But before we move on, I want to ask you something very simple, yet deeply symbolic. Subscribe now if this energy has already begun to touch you, and comment 99 below. That number is not just symbolic. It represents the end of a cycle and the beginning of a return, the moment when the chosen begin to remember who they really are. Today you will understand why you've been feeling everything so intensely, why, from time to time, it feels like a lightning bolt cuts through your consciousness, why the world suddenly seems so strange, and at the same time, so familiar. We're going to walk through deep layers of your spirit, reveal what almost no one dares to say, explain why only the most powerful chosen ones feel this, and what to do with that truth. If you stay until the end, you will never be the same again. You will remember, you will feel, and perhaps for the first time, you will know exactly why you are different. Let's begin. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't imagination. What you felt, that sudden burst of energy, that chill without cause, that wave of emotions that seemed to come from nowhere, it was real. You may have tried to ignore it, rationalize it, disguise it, but the truth is, something in you has changed, and the change was silent, but devastating, like a whisper that destroys walls from the inside. You woke up one day and the world was different, but no one around you seemed to notice. The colors looked more vivid or more faded, the sounds sharper or muffled, the air heavier or almost too light to be real. And time, it stopped obeying the clock. Minutes felt like hours. Hours turned into seconds. The external world kept its rhythm. But inside, you entered another frequency. Your body felt it. Your skin tingled. Your chest tightened, not from anxiety, but from something you didn't yet know how to name. The truth is, your soul tuned into something greater. A spiritual frequency that breaks through logic and pierces matter. An invisible calling that arrives without asking permission. Because that's how it works with the chosen. You're not invited. You're summoned, and when the calling comes, there's no manual. No one around you understands. They keep living, laughing, distracted, connected to the surface. But you felt it. As if an ancient code had been activated. As if a sacred seal had been broken. And now, nothing is as it was. Not inside. Not outside. You try to return to normality, but it's too late. The places that once felt like home now feel strange. The conversations that once brought comfort now sound empty. Familiar faces begin to feel distant, not because you reject them, but because your soul has surpassed the frequency in which they live. You no longer belong to the same plane, and it's in that moment that confusion sets in. You ask yourself, what's happening to me? And the answer is silent, yet certain. You're awakening. Your spirit has crossed a threshold. And even without fully understanding, a part of you knows there's no turning back. If this is happening to you, declare your awareness in the comments. Write, "I felt the first wave." That simple phrase is a spiritual seal, a confirmation that you've recognized the call. And you are not alone. You walk the streets, but it's as if the paths have lost their color. You hear voices, but they sound like soulless echoes. Everything around you looks the same, and yet you feel you no longer belong in that scene. As if the life you once inhabited had become a dimly lit theater, the gestures, the conversations, the places, everything seems staged, fake, lifeless, devoid of truth. It's in that moment that the call intensifies, not with words, but with absence. The absence of meaning in the things that once made you feel alive. The absence of joy in routines that once brought comfort. The absence of connection in relationships that once felt solid. You try to fit in, force a smile, keep up appearances. But something inside you screams, without noise, you were not born to stay here. And the most painful part is that no one seems to understand. You try to explain, but the words disappear. They seem too small to describe the vastness opening up inside you. You feel like a stranger in your own home, like someone who returned from an invisible war and no longer speaks the language of those who haven't seen what you've seen. You miss something you've never lived, a place you've never visited, a time that is not this one, a mission that hasn't fully revealed itself, and at the same time, a silent impulse pushes you forward, away from the familiar, out of the comfortable, because what you're experiencing is not the end. It's the portal. You're not lost. You're being repositioned, relocated, guided back to your true path. The world you once knew is collapsing, not as punishment, but as preparation. Because the chosen must go through this inner collapse in order to access what lies on the other side, the full calling of their spiritual mission. And that's when the question arises, if I no longer belong here, where am I going? And the answer is still a mystery. But you don't need answers now. What matters is recognizing you were removed from the ordinary to be placed into the sacred. Have you ever cried without knowing why? Felt sudden joy without explanation? Or sadness that didn't seem to be yours? Suddenly, emotions flood in. They come like waves without permission. Sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming. And you ask, what is happening to me? The answer is simple, yet powerful. You are feeling what the world can no longer carry. It's not fragility. It's not imbalance. It's elevated spiritual sensitivity, a kind of soul radar. You've become a channel through which the repressed pains of humanity seek an exit, a living antenna that picks up what many have buried. And this is not a punishment. It's an honor, a gift. The world lives anesthetized, accustomed to avoiding what hurts, ignoring what pulses, pretending everything is fine when everything is broken. But you feel. You see beyond words. You enter a room and sense the tension in the air. You read an ordinary phrase and something in your chest tightens. You think of someone and feel that person's anguish as if it were your own. Because in a way, it is. You've become a bridge, a translator of collective pain, and also of hope. Yes, you feel sadness, anxiety, fear, but you also catch glimpses of love, flashes of healing, whispers of faith that others can no longer hear. You've become a filter, and sometimes that is heavy, exhausting, lonely. But it is also sacred. The chosen don't come into the world to shield themselves from pain. They come to transform it. They are emotional alchemists. They take what is raw, filthy, dark, and transmute it into light, into understanding, into compassion. They cry what the world refuses to feel. They feel what others don't dare to touch. Because only those who feel deeply can heal deeply. Yes, at times you wonder if you're broken, if something is wrong with you for feeling so much. But the truth is the opposite. Feeling so much is a sign that your soul is alive, awakened, and connected. You didn't come here to survive. You came to heal. And healing always begins in the heart that refuses to harden. If these words are piercing you now, declare your sensitivity as power. Comment, I am the channel. And remember, the deeper you feel, the higher you will rise. Everything seemed so real. The goals, the routines, the ordinary dreams, the automatic way of living. You grew up believing you needed to follow a set path, obey a logic, fit in. But then something collapsed. Not on the outside, on the inside. Suddenly, what once made sense started to feel empty. What once seemed true began to sound like a poorly rehearsed script. It's as if the veils fell from your eyes, and what you once saw as life revealed itself as illusion. Conversations became repetitive. The environments, heavy. The people, absent even when present. You realized the world was asleep, trapped in distractions, beautiful lies, borrowed dreams. You see now that the greatest prison has no bars. It's made of conformity, made of this is normal. But you can no longer pretend. Your spirit rejects what is false. Your soul trembles before the superficial. What used to satisfy you now disturbs you. What once seemed right now makes you nauseous, because you weren't created to go with the flow. You were activated to break the pattern. And yes, this awareness brings pain. Because seeing the truth doesn't always set you free immediately. Sometimes it wounds. Sometimes it isolates. You find yourself surrounded by people still performing, who believe in the mask, who still confuse routine with purpose. And you try to go back, try to forget what you saw, but it's too late. The collapse of illusion is irreversible. It's in this moment that the chosen one must be brave. Brave enough not to turn back. Brave enough to walk without a map. Brave enough to listen to your own soul even when the world screams otherwise. Because after the fall of illusion, only one path remains. The truth. And the truth sets you free. Restores, redefines. But it also demands everything from you. You begin to laugh less, but feel more. Speak less, but perceive more. Participate less, but observe more. Not because you're apathetic, but because you're awake. An awakening redefines everything. After the illusion falls, the world changes. But not the outer world. The way you perceive it. Suddenly, coincidences stop seeming random. Numbers gain a voice. The clock whispers messages. Songs say exactly what your soul needed to hear. A stranger looks into your eyes and says something that touches the depths of your spirit. Reality begins to respond to you. At first, you doubt. Think you're seeing too much, feeling too much, reading too much into things. But then it happens again, and again, until you understand. It's not that the universe started speaking. It's that you finally started listening. Reality isn't silent. It's coded. And the chosen are the only ones who recognize the sacred language behind appearances. You see 1111, 222, 444, 777, license plates, clocks, messages, symbols hidden in the cracks of the everyday. The same number appears so often it becomes impossible to ignore. You dream and wake up feeling like that dream was more real than the day that began. You ask a question in silence, and the answer comes in a phrase on a screen or on a forgotten scrap of paper on the street. And then you understand you are being guided. The invisible realm watches over you, directs you, leads you. God walks with you in every detail. Everything is connected. Everything is aligned. You no longer live by chance. You live by purpose. Every movement, every silence, every word is part of a plan that began before your birth. But here's the truth few can bear. Once you start seeing the signs, you can never go back to sleep, because now you know you are not alone, that a higher intelligence walks with you. And more than that, it's waiting for you to awaken completely to activate the next level of your mission. Yes, the signs are beautiful, mysterious, mystical, but they are also an invitation, a reminder that the time has come. They are not just there to comfort you. They are there to prepare you for what comes next, for the moment when you don't just see the signs, but become one. You felt the calling. You saw the signs. You cried tears you didn't know existed. You questioned everything that was once certain. You broke with the world, but there is something even deeper, something pulsing silently behind it all. Remembrance. Not an ordinary memory, not an episode, a place, or a person, but an ancestral sensation, an echo coming from the roots of your soul. A knowing so ancient it cannot be explained, only recognized. Since childhood, perhaps you already felt something different, that there was a more waiting for you, even if no one ever told you what it was. You didn't just want to live, you wanted to change something, transform, illuminate, leave a mark that would transcend time. And now you understand why the world always felt so strange. Because you didn't come here to adapt. You came to renew, to remind others of what the world tried so hard to make them forget. You came to open portals of consciousness with your presence, to interrupt cycles that had been repeating for generations. You are the answer to prayers made centuries ago. You are the missing link that has returned, and that's why the path was so intense. That's why so much pain. That's why so much silence. Because the most sacred missions are not given to the distracted. They are entrusted to those who endured, to those who did not surrender, to those who heard the calling even when everything around them demanded silence. You were forged in the invisible, prepared in the backstage, hidden from common eyes, to now, finally, remember. You tried to forget, tried to live an ordinary life, tried to deny the signs, numb your sensitivity, fit into normality. But the soul cannot be silenced. It pulls you, wakes you, pushes you, and if necessary, it breaks everything, just to bring you back to your essence, just so you remember why you came. And now, in this exact moment, it is screaming inside of you, wake up, walk, take your place. It is no longer time to run from the mission. It is time to accept it. You are not small. You are not weak. You are part of the divine plan. And every breath you take, every step, every word, can change everything, because you are the embodied calling. If you feel this spiritual remembrance being activated within you, write in the comments now, I remember, and feel it, truly feel it. Because your soul is finally saying out loud for the first time, I came for this. You've always known, even when they tried to convince you otherwise, even when the world screamed that you were too sensitive, too intense, too complicated, even when they tried to extinguish the fire in your eyes, you carried something that could not be put out. You knew, not with the mind, but with the soul. From the beginning, you knew. You knew something was wrong with the way the world worked. You knew the forced smiles hid pain, that easy roads led to stagnation, that normality was a golden prison. You knew you weren't born to walk in the middle of the crowd. You were born to light the darkness, and that's why it hurt. That's why you bled in silence. That's why you felt strange, lost, rejected. Because the world was not made to welcome the awakened. It was made to distract them, to dim them, to make them doubt what they've always known. But now you can no longer deny it. You've seen too much, felt too much, lived too much. You crossed the invisible, climbed inner mountains no one saw. You went deep, and you were reborn. And this rebirth will not be quiet. You are the movement. You are the sign. You are the flame. You are the answer. You are the awakening that was waiting to happen. Yes, it still hurts. Yes, it's still lonely. Yes, it's still confusing at times. But now you know, you are not here by accident. You are here because you were chosen. There is a moment in the awakening when everything feels suspended. It is no longer the past. It is not yet the future. And the present feels like an empty hallway, without windows, without doors. It is the space between worlds, where nothing seems to make sense, yet everything is being reorganized, where you feel like you're standing still, but inside, you are being rebuilt piece by piece. It is there that the chosen ones are reborn. In this sacred place, the silence of the crossing, the soul undergoes a refinement that human eyes cannot see. You are no longer where you used to be, but you have not yet arrived where you are meant to be. And it is in this in-between space that you feel fear, emptiness, anxiety, doubt, but also a mysterious peace, a gentle voice that says, "Wait, it's coming." Nothing happens on the outside, and yet everything is being aligned. What seemed lost begins to be felt again. The love that seemed distant begins to be drawn in. The mission that seemed unclear begins to shine. But none of this happens with fanfare. It happens in silence, in the dark, in the invisible, because the greatest movements of the soul make no noise. It is here at this exact point that many give up. They think they are alone, that they are lost, that they have failed. But this is where the strong are separated from the distracted, the chosen from the complacent. Because those who endure this silence, this waiting, this crossing, are reborn with a light in their eyes that the world cannot extinguish. Are you in this place? In this void where everything seems still, yet something inside you keeps pulsing? Then know this: it is not the end. It is preparation. It is foundation. It is the sacred ground where the feet of your new identity are being planted. Chosen one, if you made it this far, know that this is no coincidence. The universe does not waste signs. What you felt, what you lived through in this video, is not just information. It is recognition. It is remembrance. It is activation. Every word was a key. Every sentence, a mirror. Because what was dormant in you has just been awakened, and now you are no longer the same. You can no longer pretend you don't know. Because you remembered that you are not weak, that you are not lost, that you did not come into this world by mistake. You came to break patterns, to heal lineages, to bring light where there was only noise. You came with sacred codes in your soul, with truth that cannot be taught, only revealed. And if the world still tries to convince you otherwise, look within, because now you have seen, you have felt, you know. So don't hide anymore. Don't retreat. Don't fall asleep. This is your time. This is your calling. This is your spiritual birth. Comment now. 111. That number is not random. It is a portal. It is a yes. It is the seal of your inner decision. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this journey is just beginning, and those who hear the calling must walk together. You are not alone. You are being revealed now, because the world needs your light.